Welcome to Start Lines and Swag Bags. The airing of this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to replace advice from professional medical or training staff. Thank you for listening and your support of the Flying Pig Project.
Welcome to this week's episode of Start Lines and Swag Bags. I was going to say Tuesday's episode, but I have to be honest. This particular one, we set the record for most editing necessary. And that's because I had my friend Colleen on the podcast, and it was hilarious. But as a responsible host, I did have to have quite a few bits of it edited out for a multitude of reasons. It was probably the most laughing I have done when interviewing someone, and the genuineness, I hope you can hear it in both of our voices. We touch on some very interesting subjects that moving forward, the podcast is going to start to dive into when we talk about you're not a runner unless, or she actually brought up in this episode, what does a runner look like? And again, these are all things that moving forward, as we do change the format of this podcast a little bit, we start to go into deeper topics. That being said, really quick, I did do the F3, which I talk about in this episode 2 days ago. And I said I was just going to stroll. Turns out that I walked really fast, and then the last mile, I thought it was a good idea to start running. And by the time I got home, my left leg, I couldn't even walk. And that just reminded me how out of shape I am, out of running condition I am. And I got to be honest, I haven't really decided what I'd like to do about that. But for now, you're going to enjoy Colleen. We're probably going to take a couple weeks off while we create some other special episodes. I haven't decided yet, but as always, embrace the crazy to unlock a world of possibilities. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everything.
All right, welcome to this Tuesday's episode of Start Lines and Swag Bags. And friends, it's as good as every other one I've ever done. But let's start with this. A few weeks back, I hope some of you listened to Rupesh's episode, The Regular Runner. He's the one that taught me that if you're listening on Apple, you actually don't see this beautiful video that gets made along with these episodes. Because all of my guests do video and audio. But if you're on Apple, you're like missing half the experience. Like tonight, if you're not listening to this episode on Spotify where you can see it, you don't know that my lighting is very subpar because I haven't gotten there yet on the lighting. You can see I have this very lovely rash all up and down my face that one of my students was nice enough to point out to me today. And I have my hair, I call it a plume. Remember a few weeks back, I referred to myself as Beaker. Well, now I've graduated to a plume. And I'm very happy that my guest is actually the creator of the plume. So that being said, please welcome my friend Colleen to the show. Colleen, welcome on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Tell us about yourself.
Oh, goodness gracious. There's a lot. No, just kidding. I have been a licensed hairstylist since 2008. This last year, I just ventured off onto my own and opened my own business. Mother of two and crazy husky mom as well. I have two huskies. I run in my spare time, whatever that means. So about 3 times a week is what I can get in. So there you go. That's me in a nutshell.
And everybody listening, poor Colleen had to sit through 5 minutes of the worst introductions, more cuss words, as my students like to call them, than I think I've done yet so far. So we went from Rupesh's we went right in and we started right off and we were good to go, to poor Colleen, who language is all I can say. But it's a good thing I know her enough to know that that's not an issue. But speaking of know you,
Yes.
would you care to share how you know me? I mean, I've given it away, but you know.
Well, I mean, one day I was working at a hair cuttery and you happened to walk in and I happened to get you as a client. And then I was like, huh, she's pretty interesting. This is fun. And I knew that what you do for work. And then we had the connection between the districts and talking about my kids and talking about what you do for a living. And then we also had that weird, interesting story about the gym lady. I don't know if you remember that one. That was a fun story. But I think that was your second or third visit to me, where we knew a mutual gym lady. And you're like, I don't know that woman and I want to avoid her at all costs. So that was kind of funny. So that our communication, our friendship has bloomed through that. And then when I said I was going to take my leap of faith and start my own business last year, you followed me and I was so happy for it. So there you go.
This is not going to be for the faint of heart, because I'm going to share this story of the Park District lady. So last summer in 2024, nope, 2023. Wow, 2023. Do you remember we had that those ozone days, not ozone days, but the fire, was it the fire that was causing smoke and we were having bad air quality problems? So I decided I would join the local park district, which is like a quarter mile from my house. And it was over the summer, which is how I went there at 2:00 on a Thursday. And I go into the locker room and there's this very nice older lady who clearly needed somebody to talk to. Okay, that's fine. We engaged in some conversation, and then her conversation went a little, how should we say, inappropriate. She was talking about something about the people upstairs, and they were describing what they were doing and how they were doing it and where they were doing it. And in case nobody's figured out what it is yet, it is always it. And she was asking me if I knew anything about it. And I was, okay, Cracker Barrel, you need to step aside so I can get dressed and go run. Now, I don't know, it was like 3.5 weeks, maybe 2 months later. There was a time span, and I went on like a random day, random afternoon. I walk into the locker room. There's this dingbat again. There she is. Oh, and she recognizes me, of course, because pretty much everybody always recognizes me. So she needs to engage in more conversation and tell me how things have been since the last time I talked to her. What? Okay, fine. Cracker Barrel, move along again. I need to go do it. And I never saw her again at the Park District. Then there was a nice random day, a couple months later. I had made an appointment to get my hair cut. And I strolled into the hair cuttery. And there's Colleen. She's like, oh, Rachel, I'll be right with you. I got to finish this client. Guess who's sitting in her chair? Cracker Barrel. Now, the fun part is she was not your client.
Correct. She was not my client. She was a random walk-in that another girl did not have time to get to. So I was like, you know what? I've got 30 minutes before Rachel comes in. I can sneak her in. Not a problem. And they're like, this lady's a little, I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. I got this. I got customer service experience up the wazoo. We're good. And so she didn't know what she wanted. It was a very long consultation. And then we're cutting her hair, which was why I was running behind for your appointment. And then she's like, I know her. She's my friend. I'm like, oh, that's such a small world. No way. Like, this is crazy. And then she leaves. And then Rachel sits down. And then Rachel says to me, please tell me, like, she didn't share anything weird with you. It was very very interesting.
And then I filled you in
Yes.
about her
The story.
and tried to give you like adequate, hold on, my lighting just got shot. Adequate like notice that maybe, but you didn't get her name. There was something about you didn't get her name.
Yeah, I didn't get her name, and she didn't rebook with me, and I was like, maybe she won't request me again. Like, that's the thing is like when you're in a walk-in versus appointment business, you never really know who you're gonna get. So
that's true. And of course, I fell in your chair literally completely random.
yeah.
And then there was one other thing we had in common. What's the one other thing at that time that we had in common?
Oh gosh, you're gonna make me think hard.
I mean, I can't make it sound like a turkey.
Oh, turkey trot.
Yeah. Which turkey trot?
The Patrick Devitt 5K Roselle turkey trot. There we go. I got it.
But after Colleen told me that she had run the race that Josh and I are the photographers at, I raced back to see if I could find her picture. Nope. So I said, you know what, Colleen, I know you're signed up again this year. Gotcha. I'll get you, no problem.
And I saw Josh. I saw him at the finish line. I was there, and I was like, I saw Josh, but he was so busy taking pictures. I was like, I'm not gonna bug him. I'm not gonna say. And then, like, as you know, my niece was freezing cold in her stroller, and things were not a happy place. So I was like, nope, I'll catch her later. So
yeah, and yeah, we didn't get your picture. Yeah.
So next year.
I listen, Josh and I are pretty good, but yeah, 2 years running, we missed you. And yeah, so no, this year we got it this year. We got it.
I will give you my number before I even get to
I had your number. I had her bib number. I knew who she was running with. All right, my friends, we are going to jump right into our first category. Our first category, of course, is swag. Best and or worst. What do you got?
So I have to say, I have quite a few shirts. And this might go into a little bit of a tangent. The first 5K I ever completed, I was really sad. But I did get a shirt from it, and I was very proud of the shirt. It has become recycled to a pajama shirt, as most shirts do become. I mean, it is what it is. But it was during 2020, and it was the fall of 2020. I had been training for a 5K, and I was like, I'm going to run it. And then I sprained my ankle, and then I couldn't run it. So then, anyways, I got a shirt. It was great. It was a beautiful thing. So that's one of my swag pieces that I hold near and dear because my very first piece of swag.
So there's a certain race, and I'm not going to say which race it is, whatever, but it's one that I love, and it's a 5-miler that for 2 years straight, I had registered for it, and something happened that I could not run the race. And so my friend picked up my stuff and gave it to me, and it came with the swag, which happens to be a fantastic hat. They do great hats, and a little medal. So last year, many years ago, I don't know how many, I said, hey, if I do the 5 miles, because like I was hurt or something was happening, like if I do the 5 miles, I earn it. And they said, okay. What are they going to say? No. But they're like, okay. And then the next year, something happened, and I, again, got the hat and the medal. I was like, fine, I'll do double the distance. So I did 10 miles. And I claimed the victory over the swag with the 10-miler. So I do agree with your comment about the swag and having to earn it. But as I went to pack, I found quite a few shirts from different races that I had to opt out of. I don't have medals for most of those, but I did like gear check and all that. And I decided that I spent too much money on those frickin' shirts. I'm going to wear them anyway.
You know what? I will agree with you on that 100% because I think you and I had the conversation about how running is not a cheap man's sport. it's literally like you have actually through our conversations opened my eyes up when it came to like all these crazy, like this is a marathon and that's the marathon across the world. And I'm like, what? Like this is like, I'm just a little runner here. Hello. And then I'm like, what is happening? Like this is a whole nother level. It's a whole nother level.
Now, why do you call, see, you told me you listened to Sabrina's episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Sabrina has, of course, put out the "you're a runner if" question.
Correct.
Now you're describing yourself, and you know you've run a couple races. You run, but your sister-in-law is a big runner.
She is.
But what's the difference? Because she does it more frequently? No.
So I think it is definitely a persona. I think that it's how the world views us and how we see the world. So, because no matter how much we're trying to like think about ourselves as like we're runners, and then somebody's like, you're only a runner if. And like I see her as being a runner because she's athletic, she's fit, she's thin, she goes the distance. I'm like, but it's so funny because you're absolutely right, 100%. I visited her over the summer and we ran together. The same distance, the same quality, did not matter. We were together as a unit running outdoors. And here's the other part is like I run on my treadmill. I am a klutz by nature. I will fall and break my face. So unless it's a planned path, I will die.
So anyway, so in the next few weeks, you're going to see a little change on the podcast because we're going to start actually diving deeper into some of the overall themes that have emerged. You know, we talk about what Sabrina said about, you know, oh, you're only a runner if you did this or you did that. But when you and I met this last time, you told me a story. And it's another one of those little runner issues that I think women do suffer from more than men. And we were going to talk about it later, but in light of what you said about your sister-in-law and how she looks and all of this, I'd like you to share as much of the story as you feel comfortable sharing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I even called her up and told her this story too, because she's a gorgeous human being inside and out. So like, she's so graceful. She's also a behavioral therapist for children. So the fact that she's got a psychology background, I can tell her this stuff and there's no judgment in the room. And she might judge. I shouldn't say that. She does judge. She's a human being, right? But like, she's just like, oh no, that was unacceptable. So I went to see the doctor, and this doctor is a man. He's a male doctor. And it was for my annual female checkup visit, whatever you want to call it. And my original doctor had retired. So I was seeing a brand new doctor for the first time. He does the examination, does everything, talks to me. And he did not know that prior going on to the whole female persona, prior to that visit, I had seen a lady about getting some plastic surgery done. And when I was in the office backtracking, she had said to me that I had the perinatal hernia or whatever, where your rib cage kind of like needs to be put back together, and you know. So I had 2 C-sections. I was trying to find a way of getting rid of the Joey pouch, as we call it. So I'm playing dumb in the doctor's office after my exam. He does my exam. And I say, so I had a friend that said something about this hernia thing that can happen after you have babies. And sometimes like it is medically necessary to get it fixed because, as we all know, plastic surgery is not covered under insurance. But if a doctor writes a note, it may be covered. So I was like, just playing dumb. Like, maybe he'll write the note, maybe he won't. Maybe I could just see what he has to say. Maybe he'll do another exam. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he has another plastic surgeon recommendation. So he looks at me and goes, yeah, that happens to a lot of women after they have birth, but it's typically those with 0% body fat. For those who are more athletic, who are very thin, very lean. He's like, I write them that prescription and I send it off to the surgeon and they get the surgery done and they look like the Stepford wives. But not for you, honey. Not for softball players. You're okay. You don't have that problem.
I know a lot of my friends right now. After you laid that out, I know their reactions. I remember my reaction when you told me.
Little did he know, I was training for the 10K in, oh my God, my brain is blanking right now. Downtown Chicago.
The Mag Mile one.
The Mag Mile. I was training for the Mag Mile. Little did he know, I was training for my Mag Mile run at that point. I didn't even know what to say to him. I was in shock. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, he's like, is everything else okay? And he's like, I did great, right? I'm like, a good doctor, right? Like, and he's literally said that to me. And I was like, yeah, you did great. Like, thanks for seeing me. Bye. And I let him leave the room. I got dressed. My annual was over. Thank God my annual visit was over. I get in the car and literally was reduced to tears because I called my husband and I was like, I thought I was training. I thought I'm an athlete. I thought like I'm running 5 miles 4 times a week. I walk my dogs 1.5 miles. Like I do all this stuff. I eat well. I try to take care of my body. And I have this guy telling me, well, just because I don't have 0% fat, that what? Like I'm not a runner? Like he literally said, he's like, unless you're a runner, athletic body type, 0% fat. I was like, oh.
First of all, yeah, there's so much to unpack there.
Yes.
There's literally so much to unpack that I don't even know where to go. But yeah. I'm speechless again. No, because even when you told me this the first time, I was so appalled, and I'm just as appalled the second time around. I don't know. I know a lot of people out there that would just have decked him, and that would have been the end of it. Like absolutely just taking this man out at the knees, Nancy Kerrigan style.
Ruthless.
Okay, fine. It was Tanya Harding that did it, and it was Nancy Kerrigan who got it done to her. I'm really sorry for the yeah.
It's good.
Okay, still funny. But why would anybody look at anybody and label them without knowing them in any way, shape, or form?
And I think that comes down to human nature. It's like you look at people, and I even have to catch myself doing it, right? Like I'm sure we all do it. It's hard to admit, and it sucks. But like I'll look at a female who's like super mega thin. I'll be like, oh, she probably doesn't have kids. And then little Joey comes running up. I'm like, ah, crap. It's always little Joey. Like, what's up with that? Or, you'll see someone who is, maybe not in the best physical shape of their life. And you're like, oh, they never work out. They don't eat healthy. They never work out. They probably had 5 babies and, lost themselves and the crazy. And that is so not the case. They could have been struggling for years with this. And like, I don't know, depression, obesity, like it happens. So I think a lot of us, unfortunately, we do read a book by its cover. And I think we have to accept that we read the book by its cover, but we can't say the first things that come out of our mouths.
I think, you make an excellent point. It's like we can sit here and say that we feel hurt, we feel insulted, we feel a lot of different emotions when we find out that someone has judged us in a way we are not because they don't know us at all. To your point, I think the best thing a lot of us can do is admit that we do it. For as much as we may get, what's the phrase, butt hurt, because somebody does it to us, I've consciously and unconsciously done it to other people. That does not mean it's right. It's 100% wrong on every single level. But that's unfortunately the way society is. It's unfortunately what society shows us. And it's compounded by social media.
It's a very hard topic. It is a very hard topic because, like, I think the thing is like, first of all, admitting that we're at fault, right? Like, we're totally at fault. We do it to each other. We do it to everyone in the room. But at the same time, it's also to having compassion and empathy. And I feel like we are lacking in empathy, hands down, as a society. And it's like that doctor that day when he came at me, like, he did not know that I was training for a 10K. He did not know that. He did not know that I struggle with body image issues. He did not know that my 2 kids love them to death, don't care about the scars, but I care about the Joey pouch. He did not know that. So at the same time, I also have to look at it from his, like, it sounds terrible, but I don't want to look at it from his perspective. But from his perspective, he had no freaking clue. He's talking to me. He's rolling right off the dice, rolling right off the tongue. And my husband said that was not okay what he said to me. My brother-in-law's wife, who's the runner, says she's not okay with that. Like, everybody's like, you need to report him now. And I said, here's the thing. Even if I report him, is that going to change his perception of the person that's in the room with him? No, it won't matter. It won't change. He won't understand that until he himself experiences it for the first time. So, which I don't know if he'll ever. Karma's a bitch. Just saying.
But to your point, you never know. And even if you think you know, because I've had this conversation too, even if you think you know, you don't know. You don't know what's in my head. You could say you think you know what's in my head, but you truly don't. You know what I've either led you to believe or told you. And that's the end of it. All right. So, in talking about diving deeper into certain aspects that keep coming up, the you are only a runner if is definitely, that's the first one on the hit list. And what do you mean look like a runner? What does that mean? That is absolutely something that will be coming up on future episodes. As let's dig deeper into that one, because I think the problem is not you don't look like a runner. It's the problem when you open your mouth and you say that to me. That's the problem. The problem is not you think it. The problem is that you say it. Okay, but I guess that's a whole other skill that we need to teach. All right, let's liven things up a little bit. We go from distance to advice? Yes, advice.
Oh,
no.
Goodness.
Was that
the
the
best advice I've ever gotten?
Yeah.
I would definitely say a lot of people say movement is still movement. I had one of my friends / clients. I share my runs on Snapchat when I do them on my treadmill, and that's how I keep myself accountable. And the other day, it was so funny because, like, I'm on my treadmill. I'm in my own house. I run in a sports bra. Doesn't matter. Nobody sees me, right? So I usually put my shirt, you're going to laugh. I put my shirt over the distance and the time just so that I'm not, like, watching the numbers all the time. So, like I said, I get focused in my music. I get focused in whatever I'm watching. And I'm focused on, like, okay, I know how long it takes me. I run anywhere, depending on the day, between a 10 and 11 and a half minute mile. Like, I know that. So I know how far, in theory, I should be running. So I just go. But after I do my runs, I always take a picture. And then I publish it on Snapchat. And he commented back to me, "You still did it. Your timing cannot be that bad. Why are you covering up your numbers?" And I was like, okay. And he's like, "You're still doing something that most of us cannot do. Most of us that are not willing to do. Most of us that don't want to do." Because we all go, "I'm not a runner. Psh, I can't run." Like, so I found that very fascinating. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, I should be proud no matter how long it took me. And this is going back to your previous podcast. Even if you walk it, even if you run it, even if you jog, does not matter. You still did it. You should still earn the right to say, hey, look at what I did today.
Now, I will admit, I got a little confused there because I think I said sure at the wrong time. You meant you got on the treadmill, you did your thing. When did you put the towel over when did you put your t-shirt over the time?
At the beginning. I always do it at the beginning.
And you still had it on there when you took the picture at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
I covered up my time because I was like, I had to stop. I had to walk. I had to not slow down. So there you go. And I was up there. I was like, oh my God, it took me over an hour to do that. Like, come on. Who are we kidding? Like, and that's where my brain went. And I was
okay.
Pathetic. Because that wasn't what I would, so I always go for the mileage and the time, the two piece. But like, if my mileage is there, but my time is really bad, I'm just like, I'm covering that crap up. I'm not letting it show. So again, yeah, I see you shaking your head.
Well, because the interesting thing is that there are a lot of people, including me actually, when I go to a gym and I'm going to be on the treadmill, I will cover time and distance because it allows me to just focus on what I'm doing and not stare at the numbers. And that's a good way it's a little mind trick so that you're immersed in whatever else you're doing and not staring at the clock. But you did it also because you didn't want somebody to see how long it took you to do something, because in your brain, not anybody else's brain, in your brain, you thought that other people would judge it. No, we need to stop doing that. We need to just own what we're able to do, because I guarantee you whatever you did on the treadmill that day is more than I've done probably in 6-8 months. Not gonna lie.
See, and then that's the hard part, right? Like, so we compare ourselves constantly.
You need to just do you. Do you.
Yes, 100%.
Or all you do
to us. Like, we need to say, like, this is where I'm at. This is where I am today. And you know what? Going back to the best and worst advice, it's a very mental game. It is a mental game, 150%, just as much as it is physical. So this is why runners push through injuries. This is why people keep going, even though they freaking hurt. They're like, no, I have to do this for me. No, I have to do this because if I stop now, I'm not going to finish. Right? So that leads me into my worst advice, which was love my mom. I think I told you about this. I was homeschooled. Yeah, we didn't have pee worth crap. My mom believed that love my mom. My mom is in her own world. She was born in 1943. So she comes from the generation of you get married, you have the babies, you stay at home. If you work from home, great. But you don't get involved in athletics. You don't do manual labor. You don't do any of that because you will get hurt. So my mom conversations with me when I said that I was running or being physically active, she's like, just listen to your body. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. If you start hurting, you could hurt your knees. I've heard of things about your organs. Your organs will drop. Like, don't run. Your organs will drop. And so I said, Mom, that's a very severe case. I will listen to my body. I do warm-ups. I do cool downs. I do what I feel is good. Hence why I'm not going for a full-on marathon right now. But I'm like, you have to listen to your body. She's like, but if you hurt, make sure you stop and rest. You need to rest.
I think her advice, I think there was some good advice bundled with a lot of overreaction. Of course, the organs falling out, I don't know if she's specifically referring to what they used to think about women and why they wouldn't let women run. You know this, right?
Probably not. You're probably the first person to enlighten me on this because I love my mom, but she's a conspiracy theorist, so I let that go.
No. So back, and I think this was just after Catherine Switzer broke into the Boston Marathon. I don't know if it was before or after, but originally they would not let women run that type of distance because they thought their uteruses would fall out. That actually is true. I have heard that. Well, I've heard it on many a documentary, enough to have that little fact memorized. That was originally why women were apparently not able to, or not believed to be able to handle the physical toll of running marathons.
I think that also leads back to the public Now this is going to be loaded. Sorry, just going to say it. Back to the public perception of what females' roles were to multiply on the universe, and the fact that we were having 5 or 6 or 12 children at a time. You wouldn't want that person running, I don't think. So yeah, I think that kind of go like, because yeah, reasonably so. If you had 12 kids, I think
it probably would fall out.
I think it's going to fall out.
Yeah. So, I mean, to that point, I think I'm in an interesting spot right now because I came off of injury, and so now I'm being overly cautious and I'm taking the wrong route. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do to prevent injury, but at least I'm being smart and not doing anything physical.
But here's the thing, you at least have the want on the drives, like you know what you need to do, right?
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
So that's where it is. That's where the mental game comes in. It's like you know what you need to do. You just have to do it.
That's why I have that little disclaimer about don't take this as actual advice, because I 100% know what to do. I can 100% talk anybody through what they need to do, but I don't do it. So, there you go. All right. Favorite race distance.
So, seeming as that I've only done a handful of 5Ks and 2 10Ks this year, I will say the 10K is pretty awesome. I really like the 10K. I would have to agree with Sabrina, your prior talk show lady. I would say that once you get in the groove, it's over. I agree with that. But being that is that isn't the longest I've ran because I did a half marathon on the treadmill. So, but again, are you a runner? Does that count? So there I go again, right?
No,
does it
but
count if it's on a treadmill? I don't know.
Of course it counts. But going back, actually, the fact that you say, I've only done. There's a couple words that runners need to eliminate from the vocabulary. There's 2 words runners need to eliminate from their vocabulary. One is only. I've only done this. I've only done that. I've only done this. And but. Well, I went, but I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna go do F3 in a couple days, but I'm actually walking the entire thing, and that's because that's literally all I can do right now. But I'm gonna do it. Oh, but I'm going to do it. So those are 2 words you need to eliminate. So not you've only done 2 10Ks. You've done 2 10Ks.
Yes. And I want to do more. I think it's great. I do have to say the one in Chicago was by far my favorite because everybody's just so supportive and amazing. I think I told you about this one, the other one I did where the hills just killed me. The Ula. Oh, I got the medal here. I can show you the medal. So cute. It's a little cuckoo.
Oh, the Ula. Yeah, the Ula. Well, that Ula La, that's the one in Lake Geneva. No. Yeah, in Geneva.
Yeah. It's very scenic. I think I love it for that. But I was not prepared for the elevation by any means. Like the ups and the downs in the river valley, I was like, oh no, I'm going to die. Like, that's what it felt like. I think I told you this. I cramped up on mile 1, and then I had to walk. And then I gave it a break, and I kept going again, and then I was okay, and then I had to take another break, and it was okay. It was fine. I still, the mag mile run, I still beat my time by 1 minute. So I did like 1 hour 8 minutes for mag mile, and I did 1 hour 7 minutes for the ooh la la. So I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. This is good. But the cramping was not fun. So
Now, if runners have to stop saying but and only, we also have to acknowledge that hills and cramps both suck.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So interesting. You're, I think, the second person to throw favorite distance on the 10K out of 14 or 15 people. All right. And this one, you commented to me when we talked the other night that you didn't like this question. This was the famous runner, athlete.
I actually had to do a little bit of research on this one. I was not really well informed. I believe it was one of your first episode. No, maybe it was your second episode. When you were interviewing a gentleman, I cannot remember the name for the life of me now, but they were talking about how they would like to meet the original marathoner from Roman times. I was like, oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one, because I agree. That was, and like, here we are doing this how many years later, and we're not dying, which is a great thing. And then it led me onto the quest of like, I really don't know any famous runners, so I had to research this question. So, but the one that came up, it was a Norwegian athlete. I'm going to check my notes here. I'm going to mess up her name, and I know I'm going to mess up her name. Grete Waitz, Waitz. She,
I think it's Greta.
Greta. Okay, Grete. Greta?
I think it may be Greta, and I'm not sure on the pronunciation of the last name, although I do know who you are referring to.
Yeah, so according to my research, she ran the New York City Marathon 9 times from 1978 to 1988. I would love to know, as one who has not even ran a marathon yet, what possesses you? What inspires you? What is chasing? What demons are chasing you to make you run the same marathon? Like, I would love to sit down with her and be like, what's up with that?
So, fun fact. There's actually, and I'll get you the information, there's actually a phenomenal documentary about the New York City Marathon itself. And it highlighted the race director, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. And if I'm not mistaken, she is featured in that documentary. I think she's also featured in a couple of the ones I've watched about Boston. So that's why that name does definitely sound familiar. A lot of it, if she was elite, and a lot of it is because they either win or they keep winning or they come in second and they got to go back and they got to go back and they got to go back.
It's a very special. So here's the thing. Like, I started running to become fit, right? Like, it was like an extra way of cardio. I didn't know it was going to turn into more of an obsession of my own personal interest. But I don't think anybody realizes that. And then, like, it slowly spirals, right? Then you're like, I'm going to sign up for this race. And then you're like, ooh, I did that. Like, let's do this now. And then when you brought this question to me, I was like, I don't know anybody. Like, because I don't follow anybody, because I don't run with anybody. Like, it was like one of those things, like, I'm like, this is really puzzling.
Now I'm just going to throw this out there real quick before we get the last question of the night. Yeah. So she just admitted to everybody here that I don't know who to run with. Now I'm going to point a couple things out here, folks. Point number one. She and I bonded over the fact that our children were in the same district. That means we live close to one another. Point two. there's a great running group in Schaumburg. It's based out of a store called Extra Mile Running. They call themselves Fast Track. I've heard they're really, really a great group. So your excuse of having no one to run with is bunk.
There you go. I just have to get off my treadmill now.
Well, don't worry. I'll get you when we're back at Harper College in March. That's a great time to come actually try out Fast Track. For anybody listening who's not actually Fast Track, in March we start working out speed workouts at Harper College. And it's a little less intimidating because you're in a closed track area to try running with new people you don't know, because you don't have to worry about your speed because everybody's doing their own thing at their own speed. So there's a little,
I like that.
little plug for Fast Track tonight. All right, last question. Your favorite race?
I would say Mag Mile, 100%. I would love the Mag Mile. It was great. Why? It was freezing cold in the beginning, but it was just the energy, the people, the camaraderie, the fact that, and this is the weird part, like, okay, so I know a lot of people do running in groups, and to your point, I'm Fast Track. This was the first, like, it wasn't a 5K, it was my first 10K. And I had signed up solo by myself. I was doing it. I was terrified because I was like, I don't know I knew the route from the map, but I'm like, I've never done this before. I don't know what to expect. But I was almost like feeling very adventurous. So, and the fact that we got to run along the lakefront, it was gorgeous. It was a beautiful day out. And it was very inspiring because while we were running our 10K, you had all these other groups of people running in the opposite direction. Just running, just because they could, on the lake. Oh, yeah. And I was like, this is awesome. And the fact that I had my family there as my cheerleaders, that was awesome too. My kids and my husband, they were just like, yay, you did it. Like, it was the first time I ever did anything like this. So it was just a really, really awesome race. Really awesome.
I'm going to have to jot it down that like at least a year from now, because I'm going to start bugging you about, races and stuff. We're going to revisit this question, I think, in like a year.
Okay.
I think the shuffle's going to bounce the Mag Mile one off your list.
Really?
To be honest with you. Yeah, I've done it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. That's why I wanted to do it, because you told me about it. I was like, oh, I got to do that.
Yeah, I am not doing it.
What?
Yeah. Look, I have not been shy on it. I only signed up for F3 because I had a coupon code, and I want the swag because I'm not in shape to do what I would like to be able to do, and that is my decision to decide. But I do and plan to go to cheer on others at many locations. Not the shuffle. I'm not going downtown just to. No, ma'am. Anyway.
You're going to get my photo op.
All right. That's funny. All right. Yeah, you and I could do this all night long. And the amount of, I can only tell the audience, all of you listening, the amount that I had to take out of this episode is stellar. And when we talk about records, Senia sent the record for longest time to get started, and Rupesh set the record for fastest to get started. Colleen, I think you take the award for most necessary to be edited out of the recording.
Yay! As a hairstylist, I take that honor because I talk a lot all day. So, yay!
But I will say, everybody, before we sign off, that it was all my fault. It wasn't anything she did. I did not make this easy. But thank you so much for being on. You're welcome. I'm looking forward to see what your running looks like in the next 6 months to a year. I fortunately I see you every 4 to 5 weeks anyway. But we're gonna have to get you out into a workout. Out with the team.
Yes. I
All right.
will have to come out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for being on. We're going to see if the reactions are going to work. Man. All right. Oh, there we go. We got a thumbs up.
Oh,
All right.
thumbs up. How cool is that?
Hold on. There we go. We got
Oh, it's a balloon? Ooh, look at that.